Ready? Fun facts about Ouija boards. Now this vlog's gonna be a little bit controversial, I know, because it's about Ouija boards and how they're not necessarily the devil's tools that we might think that they are. But I promise watching this video the whole way through won't make you possessed by the devil. Actually, I don't necessarily know about that, so I won't promise it. Now you might not have known, but Ouija boards have been around since the mid-19th century. And they were used in much the same way that you see them used today. Satanic possession? No. No, they're actually used as party games, where nowadays you pull them out of the closet. The portal to hell, you mean? No, I just mean like the closet where you keep your games and stuff. Oh. Anyways, you pull them out of the closet and use them during your parties and your sleepovers and stuff. Now in the mid-1800s, things were a lot more proper than they are now, and they're a little bit more of those echoes from the Victorian age. When you're on a date, you don't just cuddle up together and you watch The Bachelorette together. That was frowned upon. Actually, let's be honest, I think a few of us still frown upon that. You're right, touche. But anyways, cuddling was way too intimate. So when you think about it, the whole act of the Ouija board, you sit close together, you have to touch knees, and the board is balancing in between you, and you gotta actually like touch hands to use the planchette, you turn the lights down low and dim. It was a great excuse for couples to come closer together where normally they couldn't. Now take a look at this satanic seance as painted by Norman Rockwell for the cover of the Saturday Evening Post. Blistering with sexual tension, isn't it? Now say what you will about your own experiences with the inherent darkness of the Ouija board. We'll get to those in a second. But the board actually got its occult level status when a movie came out in the 1970s called The Exorcist. You might have heard of it. Now there was no explicit connection from the using of the Ouija board to the actual possession, but there was a scene right before the actual possession started when Linda Blair was downstairs in the basement messing around with a Ouija board. Her mom comes down. She wants to play too. Captain Howdy, the possessing spirit, was like, hell no, we don't let moms play on the Ouija board.
You need to.
No, you don't. I do it all the time.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's both play. You really don't want me to play, huh?
No, I do. Captain Howdy said no.
And from that, thusly, a whole culture of terror and paranoia was born around this Ouija board. So my first point to wrap it up was that the Ouija board was seen as culturally harmless for the first 100 years that it was even around. Until Hollywood got a hold of it. Now much of this information is talked about in Jeff Belanger's book, Communicating with the Dead, right here. Totally worth checking out and reading. But much of that also focuses around, too, on the work of Robert Murch. Now, he's kind of the father of the modern Ouija board as we think of it today. If there's an expert in the field, he's it. Now, he has thousands of boards in his house because he's a collector and a researcher. So if there was ever a portal to hell because of the Ouija board, his house would be it. And it's not. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Go check out his stuff at www.robertmurch.com. Put that link right there. Go ahead and check him out. Now, another part of the reason that Ouija boards are seen as so inherently bad is because they are for talking to spirits. So they are technically kind of an occult object. Now, in instances of possession, oftentimes what the church will do is they'll go back in the person's history to try to figure out why the possession started. Usually they're not random and they do have a certain cause. And the church usually thinks that it's something occult-like. It's something trying to contact the darkness or trying to get involved in things that you shouldn't be getting involved in. And so most of the time when they start looking back in the past, what do they find? They find an old Ouija board up in the closet. They're like, oh, at some point you've been talking to spirits here. Now, in some instances, this might actually be the case. That might have been what started the possession on. We'll talk about that in just a second, too. However, when you have so many people from the last 100 years collecting Ouija boards because it was the most popular game in the world, more popular even than Monopoly, you're going to see that case in a lot of instances. So if you get a random possession, the odds that they have a Ouija board in their house, really good. So when you find a Ouija board in the closet, it's usually game, set, match. But are there real dangers from the Ouija board? Well, that depends. In most of my conversations with people who don't like the Ouija board at all, they go something like this. I don't do Ouija boards. Nope. No, nope. Uh-uh.
No. Mm-mm. No. No. Hell no. No. I refuse. No.
Why? I had a bad experience with them when I was a teenager and just... Nope. What happened? Well, we pulled out the board and we turned all the lights down and like my friends were sitting there and I touched the planchette and before any of them touched it, like the thing just like moved across the board, just like it moved a little bit, Well, isn't that kind of what you wanted to have happen? Well, then we asked it like when I was gonna die and it started telling me an actual date. Well, it's answering your question. Like, how is that necessarily demonic? Well, then something like over by my dresser, it totally like fell off right in the middle of it. Sounds like good activity to me. Well, like, then the next couple of nights, though, when I was trying to sleep, there was, like, this dark presence that was near me, and it felt really bad. Like, it was bad. Well, ghosts are often frightening, and they kind of appear that way when they do manifest. No, but this was different. This was bad, see? And it usually wraps like this. Some people definitely have worse stories. Some people definitely even have milder stories. But when you get that idea of the paranoia with the Ouija board, it naturally tarnishes all the experience that happens and it spins them in a bad light, even if it was an experience that you were asking for. Now, all that said, my snark aside, my jokes aside, there are, I think, 2 instances where there could be some real danger from the Ouija board. Now, the first comes down to a question of how the board actually works. If all it is me putting my fingers on the planchette and the ghost sitting across from me and putting his little spirit fingers down on the planchette and pushing it around with me, I say, great, sweet, you're ready to get down to business, start asking questions about whether that hot guy in your English class is totally going to be the one to marry you. Now, if on the other hand the board demands some kind of a channeling of the spirit on your part, that it's actually talking through you in some ways, I'd say this is out for me. There are a lot of mediums who do channel spirit. That's kind of the term medium. And it is a little bit dangerous. They have ideas of when it's going well, when it's not, when they can push that spirit out, whether they can take control again. However, for the layman just messing around with that type of thing, yeah, not necessarily a good situation. You don't want to be opening yourself up to actual possession by a spirit, even if it's a trance medium situation for communication. Same goes for even your fingers. If the case is that the spirit has to move the planchette with your own fingers, I'm out. But I like to stave this off by setting the intention when I sit down to the board itself. I sit down and I say, hey, if this thing is going to work because you channel through me or because you take control of my hands, then it's not going to work. You're not allowed to do that. However, if it works by you just sitting there and moving it along with me, game time. Let's see what we can get from this. Intention goes a long way in the paranormal. Now, the second case that this could be dangerous is because you're investigating oftentimes in your own home. Now, your home is a place of comfort and security and family, and it's a safe place that you go to. However, when you start investigating and you bring that work home with you, it opens the doors to a lot of different possible spirits to come in. And so, of course, if your home is open to all these spirits passing through and it becomes a popular place because you're giving them attention, who knows if something darker is walking down the street on his way to Georgia, he might just decide to stop in and take a little detour and say hello. And that can be bad news. Now, if that actually is the case on why Ouija boards are bad, then that should take the focus away from Ouija boards themselves and put the emphasis on anything that you have for ghost hunting in your house. Whether that's a camera, whether that's an audio recorder, or even a harmless K2 meter. If you're communicating with spirits in your house and that's the problem, these devices are just as much a problem as the piece of plastic sitting in your closet. Now, I hope this has been helpful. It's kind of the in brief version. Like I said, you can reference Jeff Bellinger or on the other end, Robert Murch about any of this stuff still. Now, it is a controversial topic, I know, so if you have an opinion about it or if you had a bad experience about it that you want to share with me, I'm absolutely open to hearing any of that type of stuff. We're trying to figure out what's going on here. Maybe the spirit board is actually bad. Maybe it's actually just a normal ghost hunting device like we talked about before. So go ahead and leave your story in the comment section down below. If you have an opinion, leave that in the comment section down below too. You're always welcome to subscribe to the blog or the YouTube channel or even both, and you can always find me at karlpfeiffer.com. or on the other hand at Twitter at Karl Pfeiffer as well. Go ahead and check them out. I'm going to have another one for you next Wednesday where we're kind of going to back up a little bit and look at the different types of paranormal investigator. Now before then, if you want to catch up on some of the ones that you haven't seen, I'll post the 2 most recent ones right here and you can take a look at those and learn yourself something. So until then, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.